Good evening and welcome to 2015. Granted, if you're on the call, then you can already hear me. This is mainly for the recording for those people who watch the podcast, which is the bulk of our audience. If you can't hear the show, if you want to hear the live version, in addition to logging on to join.me/Patriot Coalition, you need to call in, and you can do it either by your phone or via the computer. And here's the once you log in on the internet to the webinar, if you click on the phone icon, as the arrow's pointing at, it'll give you the phone number and the conference ID. Or you can use the speakers and microphone on your computer. We started doing this Nation on Fire show, I want to say September, so we could also show you some stuff on the web and not just tell you about it like we were doing on our radio show. You can visit us online at patriotcoalition.com. We have Twitter accounts on the screen as well. Visit us on Facebook. And one of the most useful resources we have are our video playlist on YouTube. And there are two YouTube accounts. Both of them aren't on here, but youtube.com/Patriot Coalition and youtube.com/Patriot Watchdog. And I'm going to tell you about my name is Jeff Lewis. I'm the co-founder and national director of Patriot Coalition. And I've got a few videos that are not at the Patriot Coalition's YouTube page yet today because I just made them public probably 20 minutes ago. And they're on our Patriot Watchdog page, and I'll show you where you can find those. And these are exclusive videos that nobody else has related to some of our activities last fall and into December. And I've got some more to come. We had a strategy meeting, I want to say about 10 days ago now. And one of the things that we've been talking about is a more standardized format for our shows. And I'm doing tonight's show by myself. We've got essentially 4 Tuesdays a month. And we've got multiple projects and multiple issues that we're addressing, and some of them get more attention than others, but they're all important. Between Patriot Coalition and Fire Coalition, we've got some serious issues that we're engaged in. But I thought I'd start the year, with what I saw today. But before I get into that, upcoming, we're going to do at least one show a month that's on Patriot Coalition issues, one on Fire Coalition issues, one on the manipulation, the PSYOPs war that we're all facing. Whether it's Patriot Coalition, a Fire Coalition, or a lot of Tea Party groups, a lot of other groups across the country that are fighting for the truth. The facts and the truth alone are not enough anymore. If all it required were the facts and the truth, the battles that the Fire Coalition and Patriot Coalition have been fighting now, some of them for 10 years, would have been solved already because we don't bring anything but the truth and the facts to the table. So there must be more going on. And we launched a project several months ago, a year ago now, America's 11th Hour, which focuses specifically on the various methods of manipulation, such as Alinsky's rules for radicals, decision-relevant science, the Delphi technique, and others. And if you don't know how you're being manipulated, you're not going to know when you're being manipulated or how to respond to that, to counter it. And that project addresses that. So we're going to do one show a month that focuses on the manipulation tactics that are being used against the American people, and then give you not just the tactic, but I hate to say the practical application of it, but a contemporaneous application of that manipulation tactic that you can relate to. One of the things that we felt was important isn't just to change the. I listened to people like Michael Ferris for the Convention States Project when he launched that project. His inaugural video said, "With sometimes," and I quote, "sometimes you don't need a change in personnel, you need a change in structure." So he's saying we don't need to replace the bad people. We need to replace the structure of our government. Well, he's talking about changing the supreme law of the land, the Constitution. When we're talking about Congress, and that's the reason he claims we need to amend the Constitution, is to rein in an out-of-control government. Congress is right in the middle of that. For out-of-control federal government. He's wanting to change the rules, which is to change the laws, which is to change the supreme law. Now, one of the things that Republicans over the past several years have complained about when the Democrats had control of Congress, and you see members of Congress go back to their districts and do the talking head shows, and they complain about having to vote on things that they haven't had time to read. Well, it doesn't really matter if it's a 1,000-page bill or a one-page bill. If you haven't had time to read it, to wrap your mind around it, and see if there are any unintended consequences or collateral issues that might need to be taken into consideration, to give due diligence to whether or not you should support or oppose a specific piece of legislation, and it's affecting 300+ million people. You need to give a little diligence to that. So, after all the shenanigans that were played by the Democrats in 2009, in the passage of the Affordable Care Act, more commonly known as Obamacare, one of the biggest things that the Republicans were whining and complaining about was that the Democrats weren't playing by the rules, that they had suspended the rules on a regular basis. The regular order in Congress was no longer regular. So I watched the proceedings on C-SPAN earlier today, and I saw several things that I found extremely disturbing. So tonight we're going to talk briefly about that and a few other items. The 114th Congress suspending the rules already. Now, the first thing a new Congress does, same thing with the state legislatures, the first thing they do is adopt their rules, the rules of how they're going to conduct business in the upcoming session. Today was the first day of the 114th Congress, and they adopted the rules. And the very first, once they got done with the obligatory swearing in the new members and patting each other on the back for being members of Congress, and what a tremendous honor it was to be trusted by their constituents to send them there as leaders. The very first bill they put up was the Hire Heroes Act, Hire More Heroes Act. Now, if you were to go to congress.gov, which is where you used to go to Thomas to look up legislation. Now, one of the things they said that they weren't going to do in the last Congress was they were going to allow members at least 24 hours to know which time they were telling us lie, 24 to 48 hours, that a bill would be posted online where everybody could read it before they would vote on it. Well, they didn't keep that word. This is the same speaker who got reelected today, Speaker Boehner, who's in charge of this. He could put a stop to it if he was true to his word. Very first thing they did today, after they voted for the new rules, was suspend the rules to vote on this Hire More Heroes Act. I can't show you the legislation because it's not online yet. It's not at Thomas. Now, is this the same exact bill that was introduced last year or in the last Congress or the Congress before with variations on it? Maybe. Who knows? But it's not online. So unless the bill sponsor, the congressman from Illinois, shared it with everybody, all these new members, where were they going to read it? How were they going to know what they were even voting for? How were they going to know that what they were suspending the rules, suspending regular order in the House of Representatives this afternoon? Now, I'm a veteran, so it's not like I'm anti-military or anti-veterans. I'm all about supporting the troops and supporting veterans. That Patriot Coalition was co-founded by two veterans, Army and Navy. So if I was going to be biased in any direction, it would be, hell yeah, pass a bill to make it easier to hire veterans. But the process matters. And if you want to look at what to expect out of the 114th Congress, one need look no further than how they conducted themselves on day one. And on day one, the Republican leadership, the House of Representatives, put forth a motion to suspend the rules and pass this bill. Now, this is a bipartisan effort. This wasn't just the Republicans. The Democrats were on board as well. And I don't have the exact vote count, but I believe it was, I want to say it was 416, but it was over 400 votes in support of, A, suspending the rules and passing this bill out of the House without it going through committee, without debate, a committee debate, or without a markup. Let's just pass it. Let's just show that we can work together. That's what they were claiming, was that, we're going to do things differently. We're going to work with the Democrats. Well, does it matter if they're working with the Democrats to violate your rights, as long as they're working together and getting along? Let me tell you, they're working together and getting along just fine. The leadership of the GOP and the DNC are very good at working together to ensure their mutual success. It passed without a single no vote, because who's going to vote against veterans and who's going to vote against the military? Everybody. Now, the purpose of this alleged bill was, which was another thing I had an issue with, is according to the Affordable Care Act, if you're an employer and you have more than 50 employees, you have to provide them with insurance. You have veterans who are both in the VA healthcare system, such as myself, and others who have TRICARE. And what this bill would do would take veterans like myself or veterans like some others I know that have TRICARE, and they would not count toward the 50 employee total that would push them into the area of having to provide health care insurance for their employees. Now, the reason they're saying they need this bill is that it's an incentive for, right now it's not an incentive. In fact, they claim it's a deterrent for small businesses to hire veterans, because if those veterans happen to have health care through the VA or through TRICARE, they don't need the employer-based insurance or provided insurance, so they already have insurance that they're maybe happy with via the VA or TRICARE. And that because they've already got this insurance they're happy with, the employer shouldn't be required to provide them insurance. And that employee should also not count toward reaching that 50 mark. Now, I remember attending a town hall in Kansas, good gracious, a couple of years ago now, and a small business owner stood up who was concerned about how this was going to pan out. This is in Lawrence, Kansas, at a GOP town hall on the Affordable Care Act. And this guy had, I'll say 45, 47 employees, and he was looking to expand his company. He was concerned that if he hired 3 or 4 more employees, it was going to instantly put him into that category where he was required to provide health care insurance for his full-time employees, which according to the Affordable Care Act is only 30 hours is full-time, not 40. So I can understand his concern, and yet the government does not create anything. It doesn't make money. All the government does is spend money. Our government's not supposed to be in the business of making money. If an employer, Affordable Care Act aside, if an employer is capable of providing and chooses to provide health care insurance for his employees, it shouldn't matter how many he has, and it certainly shouldn't give special treatment to prospective employees that already have health care through the VA, through a government-funded health care provider, over a civilian sector health care provider. Now, the whole purpose of the Affordable Care Act was not to provide affordable care, it was to destroy the private insurance market. I listened to Paul Ryan talk about this bill in the Florida House today, that we need to incentivize small business owners to hire veterans. And right now, they can hire as many non-veterans as they want, and it won't change whether or not they have to provide insurance. Well, that's the way he made it sound, but that's not true. If the law says if you have 50 employees or more, you have to provide health care, whether we like the law or not, that's what the law is, then it shouldn't matter whether those employees have health care provided from some other source or not. That shouldn't be a consideration for hiring, is do you have health care insurance? Now, they're also looking at not making veterans that are in the VA healthcare system or that have TRICARE sign up for the Affordable Care Act. That's another piece of legislation. My point there is, why should we ever want to defer to a government provider if the private sector is able and willing to provide. If a small business owner wants to hire a veteran and wants to provide him with health care insurance, he should be able to. What I'm hearing coming out of the GOP camp is not just repeal Obamacare, repeal the Affordable Care Act, because the federal government's got no business in private insurance, private health care market, or in health care anyway, except for the people that they are obligated to, which are the people that are active duty and the veterans, and maybe a few other select classes of federal employees. But generally speaking, the government's got no business in health care. If we carve out a special niche for veterans so that they're not required to have sign up for the Affordable Care Act, that an employer is not required to provide veterans health care if they already have health care provided for them through the VA or through TRICARE, what are we doing to the private insurance market? It can't compete with Uncle Sam. It never could. Now, even at the VA, I had an appointment at the VA clinic this afternoon, and any of the veterans on here, you go to check in. They've got these computerized kiosks now where you check in, and one of the things they ask is, do you have any other health insurance? Because if you do have insurance, there may be a deductible, or the amount of coverage that the VA provides for you may evaporate. So it's kind of a catch-22. If you're a veteran that's in the VA healthcare system, it ain't because you want to be there. It's because you don't have insurance elsewhere, or your employer does not provide it. We don't need to add insult to injury and put the veterans in a position where they won't go looking for work because they're worried about losing their VA health care. And you shouldn't be putting the business owner in a position of having to provide insurance for somebody who already has it through the VA or TRICARE. In health insurance, life insurance, retirement, whatever it is, between the individual and their employer should be between the individual and employer. And the government should stay out of it. But what I heard Mr. Ryan say, Congressman Ryan, that we need to repeal and replace. No, we just need to repeal. We need to get rid of it. Republicans took over the House of Representatives in 2010. 2014, they took over the Senate. In the time leading up to that, every time you turn around, I don't know how many bills the House passed. There was dozens of bills to repeal Obamacare that fell dead in the Senate. But it wouldn't matter. Even if the Senate had passed the bill, the president was going to veto it. I lost track of all the big money, deep pocket special interest groups sending me emails at the end of the year wanting me to send them money that some mysterious donor was going to double my donation if I would just donate toward the end of the year. Well, how many of them raised millions and millions and millions of dollars on the promise to repeal Obamacare, repeal Obamacare, repeal Obamacare. And now the Republicans have control of both the House and the Senate, and they're not talking repeal, they're talking repeal and replace. When they had the authority, the House of Representatives since 2010, to completely defund it. All appropriations bills have to originate in the House, period. And every time they come to us begging for the gavels, we give them the gavels. And so, well, we can't do it this year because that might hurt us in the midterm, or that might hurt us in the presidential election. I guarantee you what you're going to hear coming out of the Republicans' mouths, Speaker Boehner's mouths, that Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, a global federalist extraordinaire himself, said the Republicans need to try not to be too scary in this new Congress. And the Republican leadership is already telling them, we need to moderate. We need to move more toward the middle, or it's going to hurt us in 2016. Not only may we might not get the White House, we might lose control of the House and the Senate. So it's not about doing what's in the best interest of the country. It's about keeping power and keeping control. If you go to C-SPAN, actually somebody, I did have this up earlier. I was looking at something different. So I can't tell you right off the top of my head. Maybe I'll see if I can pull this up real quick. House re-elects Boehner. A very limited number of people voted against the Speaker. And those who did were taking a chance. And we'll get the actual numbers. But if you're a conservative or a liberty-minded Democrat, that's oxymoron almost. If you're a member of Congress, member of the House, voted today to re-elect John Boehner as Speaker, then the vote you cast for them that last November should be the last vote that you cast for your current sitting member of the House of Representatives. We need new leadership. Actually, we need leadership that puts the people's business first and not the party's business. It's been suggested that John Boehner raised over $100 million for campaigns for members of Congress last election. Well, I don't care who you are. If you're Speaker of the House, there's clout that comes with that, and you can raise money. The people that put their names in the pot to run for Speaker of the House, and I'm hearing this on C-SPAN as it unfolds, and I can't remember the congressman's name, Nunez or something to that effect, have already been removed from his committee assignment. Now, committees are important because they do the meat and potatoes work of marking up legislation, amending it, debating it, discussing it. So if you're in a state like North Carolina, for example, that has a lot of military installations, then it might be of interest to your constituents if you served on armed services, or if you have a lot of veterans in your state. You might want somebody on the Veterans Affairs Committee, like we have my Senator, Richard Burr, serves on the Senate. Actually, he's the ranking member, or was the ranking member of the Veterans Affairs Committee. The Speaker of the House, John Boehner, has already illustrated that he would punish the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the United States Congress, punishing members of Congress that were elected by other people in other states and other districts to represent them, that the Speaker of the House has already demonstrated in the last Congress a willingness to punish members of Congress in the House that didn't toe his line. Congressman Walter Jones, Congressman David Schweikert, Congressman Justin Amash, Congressman Tim Sewell's camp were all removed from their committee assignments because they didn't support the Boehner agenda and didn't vote. In fact, all four of those congressmen, God bless them, voted against the 2012 National Defense Authorization Act, which violates no fewer than 14 provisions of the U.S. Constitution. And you can compare it to every state constitution, the violations on top of the U.S. constitutional violations, and it's roughly around 20. And these are just the provisions. Some of those provisions have multiple violations as a result of the indefinite detention provisions in sections 1021 and 1022 of the 2012 National Defense Authorization Act. Now, it's my understanding that the leadership was supposed to facilitate, is not to set the agenda, not to control the agenda. The Speaker of the House is supposed to just make things flow. When the Speaker of the House, and it doesn't matter whether it's John Boehner or Nancy Pelosi, punishes members from other congresswomen from other states because they don't support him as the Speaker, or because they don't support his legislation or a specific bill, and he either strips them or of chairmanship or removes them from membership on committees as a result of that, that should be an ethics violation. That should be grounds for removal from office of Speaker. And yet it's not. If we want things to get to change, we have to start with the process. And it needs to be an honest process of the election of the Speaker of the House leadership. It should be a private ballot. If my congressman not only didn't vote for Speaker Boehner, he nominated someone else, Congressman Wallace, I think, from Florida. Now, I can understand if you're going to nominate somebody that you should speak to why you think they should be make a good speaker. But for those folks who aren't nominated, when it comes down to the actual voting, that's one vote they should be able to make in private, so that they don't have to fear retaliation from whoever wins, because they're not up there. This is not a football team. And this is not a private company. This is the United States government. I'm not happy today. Not happy with what I saw the Republicans do already. In first official action after establishing the rules was to suspend the rules. So, find out who your congressman voted for Speaker. If my congressman loses committee assignments because of his opposition to a corrupt Speaker, I can live with that. I would much rather him do that and lose his committee assignment than to sell his soul or violate his oath just to keep his position on the committee. Another, so I'll get the list. Take it with a grain of salt. If you think things are going to be different in this new Congress, the 114th Congress, with John Boehner and Mitch McConnell in leadership positions in the House and the Senate, and you think happy days are here again, you're in for a sad awakening. And if you voted for anybody that voted for these swine, these traitors in suits and ties, don't complain for the next 2 years when they don't do the people's business. You got no grounds to complain. On another note, so it's about 20 till. I told you that I had some exclusive video footage I was going to share, and I'm just going to show you where you can find it. Let's make this. Let's start at the home site here. If you go to patriotcoalition.com, easiest way. If my internet will speed up a little bit. Scroll down and go to the sidebar and go to our YouTube channels. And if you want to watch these videos today, go to Patriot Watchdog YouTube channel and go to our Article 5 playlist. And the videos that have been released this evening, there are 3 of them. One is, where's that? I'm showing you one that I haven't done yet. It's bad when I got so many myself, or is it down at the bottom? So I just made it public. All right. Well, it says it was made public. All right. Let's try this one. The RPV, so we just go to the video list. The RPV debate, it shows that one's unlocked. Doesn't show these 2. On December the 6th, our General Counsel, Mr. Richard Fry, debated Michael Ferris at the RPV Advance Conference in Chantilly, Virginia. And if you're not familiar with the Article 5 debate, you need to get familiar with it because it's coming fast and furious, and it'll be as bad as the debacle as Fast and Furious. I suggest you go watch this debate. It's an hour and 16 minutes long, and there were some folks that were thought that Councilor Fry didn't attack Mr. Ferris well enough in this debate. But he did exactly what our strategy called for, because we weren't debating the merits of the particulars of the process. The debate was about whether or not we should be using Article 5 to rein in an out-of-control federal government. Whether we should trigger an Article 5 convention to do so. Now, these are 2 attorneys debating. I'm not one. Councilor Fry didn't originate this concept. I don't know if it's something they taught in the law school. That certainly, I had heard it before, but that when the facts are on your side, as a litigator, argue the facts. When the law is on your side, argue the law. When neither the law nor the facts are on your side, attack opposing counsel. Now, the Constitution was written for the average voter. That's how the Supreme Court worded it, their understanding of it. For the average voter. It was written for the average man. It was written for farmers and shopkeepers and merchants to understand. When I speak to groups in public, I tell them, if you need a constitutional scholar or a constitutional attorney to explain the Constitution to you, you probably had a public education. Well, that offended the school teacher, but it's the truth. Now, are constitutional scholars and constitutional attorneys capable of perhaps explaining some of the litigious nuances or the history or the precedents upon which laws are based? Maybe. But the Constitution, the supreme law of the land, was written for everybody to understand. And Mr. Ferris, a seasoned litigator, believes that the best way to solve everything is through litigation. I disagree. The 3 videos that I've released that are exclusive videos that only Patriot Coalition has are the 2 trips that Mr. Ferris made to North Carolina back in October. Allegedly, our lieutenant governor was doing a town hall, but the lieutenant governor spoke for maybe 5 minutes, and then the rest of the time was it was more like a convention, a states project infomercial, because Mr. Ferris did all the speaking. You can watch both of those videos from either the main video list or from the Article 5 playlist. Just look for the big red town hall links and the RPV debate video. We also did a forum in Falls Church on December 8th with a cast of walking encyclopedias on the principles of liberty and the Constitution that I'll be sharing sometime before next Tuesday. That included Mr. Robert Broadus from Maryland, Dr. Edwin Vieira, who is a guru on the Constitution and constitutional militia, has numerous business and law degrees, has written countless books, including a 2,300 page treatise on the constitutional militia, and who did there's two very important videos you should watch, one of which is Dr. Edwin Vieira on the Parental Rights Amendment, and Dr. Vieira on Article 5, both of which are in our playlist from a sit-down that Counselor Fry and I had with Dr. Vieira back in the spring. Last but not least, I'm going to open this up. I know Donald's chomping at the bit to say something here. Starting next week, there's 3 more. Let's see if my calendar will tell me the truth here. Yeah, there's 3 more shows this month. 13th, 20th, and the 27th. One of those will be on Article 5 and what the Patriot Coalition has coming up. We've got our Restoring Constitutional Governance Act, which if you go to theintolerableacts.org, which is one of our projects, and there's a link to that as well here on the sidebar at patriotcoalition.com. Right here, the Intolerable Acts will take you here. NDA resolutions and legislation, if you click on that, it will take you to our model legislation and resolutions page, we have our Restoring Constitutional Governance Act, which directly addresses the application of laws of war on civilian populations, on Americans in America and abroad. We have model legislation for all 50 states that is custom tailored to your specific state. So just scroll down and click on your state. It'll take you to a page that has both the resolutions and the model legislation. But it will be, I know that the RCG Act will be reintroduced. We've already gotten word in Wyoming legislature this year. It will be reintroduced in North Carolina, in Arizona. And we've got 2 members of Congress, because there's also, right here at the top, Restoring Constitutional Governance Act for Congress, which is the parent. And we have it for city council, county commissions as well, and for law enforcement. There's templates for those. The main legislation is one, whether this is the state bill or the federal bill. The actual bill itself, this is on page 2, is one page. And it chops directly at the root, not of the 2012 NDAA, not even at the 2001 authorization for use of military force, which was what Congress claimed was the authority that gave them the power to push the envelope on the application of laws of war, and the indefinite, which led to the indefinite detention provisions in the 2012 NDAA. We have a one-page bill that chops directly at the root. And feel really favorable about that being reintroduced, or that being introduced in Congress. I know it's going to be introduced in some state legislatures this year. I know that our partners at PANDA, People Against NDAA, are diligently working at the state and local level from coast to coast to get it introduced and passed at all levels of government. And we thank them for all their hard work. But the main place it needs to be fixed is in Congress. So we've got a couple. When Councilor Fry and I were in D.C. last month, we had a few meetings on Capitol Hill in addition to the debates and the forums and things we went to. Feel good that we'll get the Restoring Constitutional Governance Act introduced in Congress this year, in the 114th Congress. What was called the Jamil Shaw Jr. Memorial Act of 2013, which Congressman Walter Jones had introduced for us in the past several Congresses, previously under the name the Illegal Alien Crime Reporting Act, will be reintroduced. And we had it in the last Congress. We changed the name to name it after a victim, Jamil Shaw II. That will be reintroduced in Congress probably in the next month or so. We need support for that. We need support for the RCG Act. I know Councilor Fry and myself, when we were in Arizona back in November, received requests from multiple Arizona senators for us to come back and testify in the upcoming session on bills related to Article 5 and the indefinite detention provisions of the 2012 NDAA. And we have opportunities to educate and inform. In fact, we were there to do a briefing in the Arizona Senate on Article 5. And as I was doing my introduction to the senators and the representatives that were there, at this closed briefing of the Patriot Coalition and Fire Coalition, when I brought up our efforts on the 2012 NDAA, it sparked a tremendous amount of interest, and the 3-hour briefing, the first 45 minutes was spent on the RCG Act. That they had us go through it line by line. Now, it's only one page, but to give it due diligence, to go through it with them line by line. Our bill, our model legislation on the RCG chops directly at the root of the problem. It doesn't give people a false sense of security that their rights are now being protected again, and it doesn't give the legislators at the state level a pass for not doing their job and keeping their oath to support the Constitution by simply saying, we're not going to help the feds violate your rights. The states have a duty to interpose, not nullify, interpose, to get in between we the people and erode central government. And they're not doing it. And the legislation that we had seen being promoted by some of our peers over the past 2 years, really 12, 13, and 14, past 3 years, had been what I call warm fuzzy acts, because it gave the legislators a pass for not doing their job, and it gave the people a false sense of security that their rights were being protected again. So, if you want to learn more about the RCG Act, about the at the federal, state, or local level, go to the Intolerable Acts website, go to your state, download the resolution. I recommend you get the long resolution first, which is more of was as much of a teaching tool as it was a resolution, an educational tool. Read that first. Read, in fact, at the tail end of each of the resolutions and the model legislation, there's a link to Judge Catherine Forrest's 112-page ruling on the indefinite detention provisions as addressed via the Hedges v. Obama lawsuit. And Judge Forrest's ruling in September of 2012 mirrored, or still does, mirror our resolution and our analysis, both legal and constitutional analyses, lockstep. You'll find no inconsistencies with Judge Forrest's 112-page ruling that she put out in September 12th, 2012, as you will our model resolution that we put out 8 months earlier. But I think she used our work to write her ruling, or she could have. They're that much in common. We've got other battles we're fighting as well coming up this year. We're all volunteer. None of us get paid to do what we do at Patriot Coalition or Fire Coalition. I took a little extra time off over the holidays, something I haven't done in a decade. And I say that literally because this year's hard to believe, my 10th year as a full-time activist. Full-time volunteer activist. But Patriot Coalition, Fire Coalition, our leadership, our think tank, need your help. If you can afford to make a donation, we appreciate it. There's a link on right at the top of our homepage where you could donate. It takes money to travel. It takes money to eat when you travel. You have to have somewhere to stay when you travel. Airfare's not getting any cheaper. We don't have millionaire, deep pocket making our agendas or paying our way. We're self-funded. And we could certainly do more if we had more. But we do a lot with very little. That being said, city councilor got back from his meeting. I'm going to wrap up the formal part of this and get back to here. I guess if I had a clue first. Join us next week, January 13th at 9 o'clock, and we'll have some more detailed information related to Article 5 and our upcoming efforts. If you live in North Carolina, I strongly recommend you go watch those new videos we just released because the snake oil salesmen, carpetbaggers are coming back later this month. I want to say 23rd through 26th to do some more town halls with our Lieutenant Governor to try and sell the people of North Carolina that an Article 5 convention is the be-all, end-all solution to our problems, and it's not. And you need to know what these carpetbaggers are selling.